and one of them was a woman hitting him. Yeah, that's in context, but the context not given to the public. So even now you've got these little recordings of voice recordings coming out about Tate talking about raping a woman or something. Yeah, what they don't say.
He plays sex games anyway, though.
Yeah, he plays those sex games, but what they also don't say is that those two women, when they put in a sexual assault against when one girl said in 2015 she was raped by him, I believe they took her phone. In her phone, they had her conspiring with the other girl to extort Tate. Yeah, that's why
Tommy Robinson has become a prominent and polarising figure in discussions about free speech and Islamophobia. Known for his outspoken criticism of radical Islam and his advocacy for free speech, Robinson's views have sparked significant debate. In this video, we will explore Robinson's stance on free speech and Islamophobia, examining his arguments and the context in which he presents them. Tommy Robinson, born Stephen Yaxley Lennon, is an English political activist and the co-founder of the English Defence League, EDL. His advocacy for free speech and his criticism of Islam have placed him at the centre of controversy. Despite facing legal challenges, Robinson remains a vocal advocate for what he perceives as the right to speak freely and criticise radical ideologies.
How do you feel about Brother Tate becoming a Muslim now?
How do I feel about him becoming a Muslim? Disappointed. Tate's a genius, yeah? He's a very clever man. And what he's doing now, he's always done. Yeah, he's tried it with multiple different... So Top G, he had Mr. Plenty before that. Have you seen his rap song?
Yeah, it's awful.
Oh, bruv.
Yeah.
Like, I've done some fuck-ups in my life, man. I wanted this on the podcast. Say, bruv, I've fucked up sometimes, man, but what the fuck? But, so Tate... Everything he says, so it's like Katie Hopkins.
Do you know each other personally, right?
I know Tate, yeah. Right. Yeah, Tate's from Luton. I know him. I've been out to I went out to Romania. I went out there in 2017, spent a few days out with him. But he's a very... And Tate's mentor is a man called Amir, a Muslim man, Bosnian Special Forces from Storm Gym. Very well respected. No one would have... Everyone I speak to, because my friend is one of the main trainers at that gym, everyone likes him, yeah. Muslim, non-Muslim, he's a great guy. Tate, I think, puts a lot of his value comes from the teachings of that man as well, yeah? And his guidance from him. So everything as Tate carried on talking over the years, I'm thinking, well, that's Islamic. That fits in with Islam. That fits in as he's talking about what he sees and women and his views on multiple wives and all of these things fit into the teachings of Islam. And Islam also, at this time, is the only group, Muslims are the only group in the UK who will stand up against the LGBTQ plus sexualization of children. That's the only group of people. They're very principled in their values and they will not back down. Yeah, they don't bend. Islam ain't gonna bend.
Isn't that a good thing?
Yeah, for them.
Because you're similar to you as well.
No, it's fair. Yeah.
You have your...
I respect certain things.
The resilience.
The resilience and and it will not bend. You'll bend before Islam bends. Yeah? Your country will bend. Your laws will bend. Islam won't bend. The Muslim community will not bend. I don't know if you've seen this story. So Muslims are protesting outside the schools in Birmingham about the LGBTQ plus thing. Yeah, they teaching boys they can be girls and I sat there and they're outside the schools.
Oh, the teacher said, I want to abolish
heteronormativity. Yeah. So it's about them enforcing a political ideology within the children. Yeah. About sexualizing them and changing, and they don't want you to have a dad, but they also want you to be weak. They want the men to be feminized. They want you to be confused because you're easy to control for what they've got planned for the future. So I reached out to that. I went up to the Muslim geezer's house and I thought, you're being labelled as extremist. I'm a dad. I agree with everything you're saying, yeah. But the way they got round that, they labelled them as extremists. The parents were called extremists, and then they got court injunctions banning them from attending the school. So then it's gone away. But you're right, the woman behind that education process in Birmingham, she said 5 years prior that she wants to smash heteronormativity. So this is a teacher saying she wants to smash men and women being together because they don't want it. And I said, now they're indoctrinating and they're calling it diversity and inclusion. So no, that's not inclusion. You're not. And with that ain't happening with my kids. But so many parents now are letting it happen within our communities
because of political correctness.
Because they're scared.
Yeah, but the abolishment of heteronormative roles, a lot of people don't know, and one thing I will say, heteronormative and that movement is very different to the homosexual movement because homosexuality has always existed through years of time and apart from regions where the holy books were enforced. When I talk about the trans movement, it all started with Alfred Kinsey, I think in like the 1960s, I think it was, if my memory serves me correctly, and his whole idea was he...
Robinson's defence of free speech is rooted in his belief that individuals should have the right to express their opinions without fear of censorship or reprisal. He argues that free speech is a fundamental democratic principle and that it is essential for holding those in power accountable and fostering open debate. For Robinson, protecting free speech is crucial for addressing controversial issues and challenging ideas that he believes are harmful or dangerous. One of Robinson's central arguments is that criticism of radical Islam should not be conflated with Islamophobia. He asserts that it is possible to critique specific ideologies or practices within Islam without harbouring prejudiced or bigoted views against Muslims as a whole. Robinson emphasises that his criticisms are aimed at radical elements within Islam that he believes pose evidence of radicalisation and violence perpetrated by individuals or groups associated with extremist interpretations of Islam. He argues that these incidents highlight the need for open and honest discussions about the potential dangers posed by radical ideologies. According to Robinson, addressing these issues is not about targeting individuals based on their religion, but about confronting extremist beliefs that can lead to violence and unrest. In his public statements and media appearances, Robinson frequently emphasises the importance of distinguishing between criticising radical ideologies and promoting hatred against entire communities. He argues that focusing on the actions of extremists does not equate to attacking all followers of a particular religion. Robinson believes that such distinctions are crucial for fostering meaningful dialogue and avoiding misunderstandings.
Every British person today is offended with people shouting Allah Akbar!
After 2 years below the radar, he's back, promoting a new movement in the UK against radical Islam. Having left the EDL, the English Defence League, Tommy Robinson now wants to tell the world that the EDL was the wrong way to confront radical Islam. The aggression, the booze, the football hooligan element, he claims, all of it wrong, and the extreme right-wingers.
I've gone out there and I felt a little bit ashamed of how we carried ourselves off in England, but at that time it's what was needed. We were young and we were angry.
Instead, he says this is the way we go in the UK. 40,000 gathered for a Pegida rally in Dresden. Robinson was on stage there and is now launching Pegida in Britain.
You say you want to stop Islamic immigration?
Yes.
Right. What about building mosques?
We need to stop the building of mosques temporarily. The same with the immigration. Look, we'll assess it again in 5 years' time. If we've got to...
So 5-year ban on immigration if you're a Muslim, 5-year ban on building mosques?
Yes. The majority of people in Britain are concerned with the Islamification of the country. The majority of people are concerned with the effects literal interpretation of Islam is having.
But Robinson's now the manager, backstage. So meet the would-be frontman, former British soldier, then fighter with Kurdish forces against the Islamic State or Daesh, but a wannabe leader who wouldn't give me his surname before the cameras rolled.
No leader of any movement that's gone anywhere doesn't give their full name. What's the problem with that?
No, I will give my second name in the future. So,
what is your second name?
Scott.
Scott?
Yeah.
Right, okay, fine, we'll clear that one up.
Yeah.
That obstacle removed, we got on to what really worries Pegida.
And it's very important the truth gets out there. That's the most important thing.
What is the truth then that we're missing here? What's the big truth?
The big truth of what's going on around the country.
Yeah, what is it?
With girls getting groomed. Okay, these are facts.
Okay, girls getting groomed, what else?
The youth getting radicalised within Islam. There's so many things, you know.
Well, that's two.
Okay. Just all stuff to do, you know.
Well, what? I mean, you say there's a problem. When I ask you what it is, you can't tell me.
Right. With radical Islam, what I've seen in obviously Iraq and stuff like that. If we were to get to that stage, like I said, that's my main concern. Okay.
Iraq was run by a tyrant on an industrial scale. Going to go down that road? That's preposterous.
Yeah, but this is exactly it. This is the thought process of people, that people think, oh yeah, that's just how it is. What do we wait until it gets that bad? No, it's best to prevent what's going on, you know.
Pegida attracts large crowds for anti-radical Islam rallies across Northern Europe and has mostly avoided the thuggery of the extreme right. And that is what Robinson and Scott now want to bring to Britain.
Robinson's stance on Islamophobia is also reflected in his criticism of policies and practices that he believes inhibit free speech. He argues that certain legal and social measures intended to combat Islamophobia can, in practice, limit open discussion and critique of radical ideologies. Robinson asserts that such restrictions undermine the ability to address important issues and prevent necessary debates about security and integration. In addition to his arguments about free speech and Islamophobia, Robinson has been vocal about what he sees as failures in addressing radicalisation and extremist behaviour. He cites cases of terrorism and violence that he believes have been exacerbated by inadequate responses from authorities and a lack of transparency. Robinson argues that confronting these issues requires a robust and unfiltered discussion, which he believes is hindered by efforts to suppress criticism and dissent. On free speech and Islamophobia is also influenced by his experiences with the legal system and media. He has faced various legal challenges and accusations related to his activism, which he argues are attempts to silence him and prevent him from expressing his views. Robinson contends that these experiences underscore the need to protect free speech and resist efforts to stifle dissenting opinions. Despite his controversial views, Robinson has garnered support from individuals who share his concerns about free speech and radical ideologies. His supporters argue that his advocacy highlights important issues related to security, cultural integration, and the protection of democratic values. They believe that Robinson's willingness to speak out on these matters serves as a necessary counterbalance to what they perceive as overly restrictive policies and attitudes.
Hello, I'm from Tower Hamlets, and I was, quite well informed about the protests that the EDL wanted to do through Tower Hamlets. One of the biggest reasons why that protest was, so opposed in our borough was because it would have created even bigger divisions between the Muslims and the EDL, who claim to represent the rest of Britain. Well, you said it yourself. You said that this is a Muslim problem. The Muslim community needs to fix this problem on their own. The non-Muslim community can't fix this for us, and that's what we have to do. But then you have documentaries like the Stacey Dooley documentary that goes up to the most radical Islamic preacher, Anjem Chowdhury, and then interviews them. What did she expect to find if she went to a protest or a talk with the most radical preachers at its helm? Of course you will find extremism there. Of course you will find problems. Every time the Muslim community tries to step up to this, we're brandished as, supporting these extremist speakers. But why do they get so much limelight? Where are the normal Muslims? When we try to speak, our airtime is taken by these extremists, and you cause those divisions. Well, maybe not so much now, but your involvement with the EDL made these divisions even larger. Your protest, had it gone along, it would have helped. In fact, people like Anjem Chowdhury, they could have used that as fuel and food to encourage more innocent youngsters who are Muslim. He would have, gone out there and said, look, the EDL came to our hometown and they tried to spread hatred. Sure, your intentions may have been good, but when you brandish yourselves as, you sort of make it tribal when you create groups like the EDL. And then that's what the extremists want. So my question is, after saying all of that, is do you finally admit that your involvement with the EDL actually, in the long run, helped out these extremists?
These extremists don't need much help. Yeah? We've got probably 3 times as many British Muslims fighting for ISIS than fighting for the British Army. I wouldn't really say that it's played that big a factor in the ideology that is resulting in what we see as the cancer that is ISIS. We talk about Tower Hamlets, and us coming there would have created tensions, and that's why we shouldn't have been allowed there. The problem is, they're allowed to walk through my town centre. Yeah? No one stops them. And this is what we see. Yeah? When we talk about Anjem Chowdhury and his group actually protest outside Westminster Cathedral. Inside was not 1,000 Christian men, inside was families. The reason why we want to come to Tower Hamlets, let's look at the reason why we wanted to go. Lufta Rahman. Everything we said, and the reasoning why we wanted to go, I sat in custody and watched a Panorama documentary. It was everything we were saying. Eric Pickles has just put it into special measures. In Tower Hamlets, you have the mayor who was kicked out of the Labour Party for his extremist links. You then have him in charge of £1 billion budget of taxpayers' money. And if the Muslim community, you have 30% of Tower Hamlets is Muslim. The entire mayor and his committee are Muslim. It's not representative at all. If you want to look at where the funding's gone, because we've done it, we looked at the trail of the funding. All funding to any moderate Muslim group, any decent groups, has been siphoned and taken away. And the funding siphoned off to madrasas. And that's what taxpayers' money is funding. So what do we do? If we're angry about these issues, in a democracy, that's your way of venting your frustration and anger is to protest. When we wanted to go into Tower Hamlets, I went to the High Court. And the reason the police give...
Robinson's critics, however, often accuse him of promoting Islamophobia and fostering division. They argue that his rhetoric and approach contribute to a climate of intolerance and prejudice against Muslim communities. Critics also contend that Robinson's focus on radical Islam can overshadow broader issues of integration and coexistence, potentially exacerbating tensions and misunderstandings. The debate surrounding Robinson's views on free speech and Islamophobia reflects broader societal concerns about the balance between protecting individual rights and addressing security threats. Robinson's arguments challenge us to consider how we navigate these complex issues while ensuring that the principles of free speech and democratic discourse are upheld. In conclusion, Tommy Robinson's advocacy for free speech and his criticism of radical Islam have made him a prominent figure in ongoing debates about these topics. His arguments emphasize the importance of protecting the right to speak freely and addressing radical ideologies without conflating them with prejudice against entire communities. Robinson's stance on these issues continues to spark discussion and controversy, highlighting the need for thoughtful and balanced approaches to free speech, security, and cultural integration. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and for more content like this, be sure to subscribe to the channel.